Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to our latest podcast. I'm super excited today to have two of our top experts in the absence management practice. And in a moment, I'm going to turn it over to Gina, who's going to introduce herself, and Andrew, our two experts on our panel today. And we're going to talk about absence management. We're going to learn a little bit more about what employers need to be thinking about. We've just been through kind of the roughest part of the pandemic. Hopefully we're coming out the other side with the vaccines. And this is top of mind for so many employers, is trying to figure out family-friendly leave, the different leaves, the different statutory requirements and compliance pieces in different states, and how to harmonize the benefits. So I'm really excited to have our experts here today. And I'm going to ask Gina to introduce herself first and tell us a little bit about her practice. And then Andrew can join in. Gina?
Thanks, MB. Thanks for having us. My name is Gina Gabriel. I'm a client relationship leader on our ADL team. ADL is Absence, Disability, and Life. So really, our team is focused on absence management, which is helping our clients manage their workforce as it applies to time away from work. Our specialty practice is a team of 40 people. We've got about 18 years of average experience. A lot of our folks come from the carrier and TPA side, and this is all we do. It's completely our focus. We don't provide healthcare consulting. We partner with MB and her team of experts when it comes to that. And just like Marybeth and her team, we do serve as an extension of each client's teams. Our client base is the large multi-state employer, including 18 of the Fortune 100 companies. With our clients, a lot of 2020 initiatives were backburnered due to demands of managing workforce during COVID, of course. And our clients are now looking to revisit some of those projects this year.
Terrific. Terrific. Good. So, Gina, what trends are you seeing that employers really need to be focused on and thinking about, all employers, regardless of size?
So yeah, you mentioned a couple of those things at the beginning, MB. So really 3 areas of focus that we're seeing right now are compliance. So most of our clients have a national footprint. So complying with the state regulations is incredibly complex. And I'll come back to that in a second. Second one is harmonization and rebalancing time away from work programs. And third, focus on family-friendly benefits like maternity, parental, family caregiver leave, and PTO. And, just kind of a timely conversation that happened this morning with a firm that's located in New York City. There are about 6,000 employees, and we were talking about their challenges of their workforce, especially now with everyone working from home. And what my contact said to me is, we don't anticipate that we're even going to have an office here in New York. The majority of their population is located in the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. But because of their ability to work from home, they're really seeing that they're probably not even going to have that office space. And so now they're faced with not only simplifying and trying to harmonize what they do with those 3 states in particular, as well as California, where they have a large population, but now they're going to be looking at employees that are literally in every single state is what they're anticipating. So we're able to help them take a look at their programs, their policies in place, and look at ways in which they can simplify. And I'll just mention one last thing. We did just release the results of our latest leave of absence survey. We had 173 large employers participate, and that information that we're able to provide includes the most recent trends in policy design and administration. And it's data that large employers are incredibly interested in, especially now dealing with all of these complex issues.
Yeah. And, it's interesting because I feel like in the last, 20 plus years of doing this, the jumbo large employers start focusing on things and tackling them. And then it rolls down to the middle market, and the smaller clients really realize that those are the trends that we need to be focused on. So I think, this is front of mind for so many employers, regardless of size. Andrew, if you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the things that you focus on in your practice, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you. So Andrew Brownstein, I'm one of the regional practice leaders here within our absence, disability, and life practice. And I'll elaborate a little bit more on the three trends that Gina mentioned in the beginning of this podcast. But again, I echo Marybeth's comments. It's the large employer, which predominantly is our focus, that's setting the trends that we're now seeing bleed into the middle market space and becoming very, very topical there as well, especially the multi-state employers. And especially as you think about some of the macro effects of COVID, that's creating a different way in the way we work in terms of location and work from home parameters. When you think about compliance needs typically tied to your work location, that's creating additional complexities that weren't always there in the national employer space or even the regional employer space. So if we go back to those three trends, the first of which I'll discuss is really kind of a family-friendly leave strategy from an employer perspective. And when I say that, I'm really kind of looking at three buckets of leaves. One is maternity or pregnancy leave, two is parental or bonding leave, and three is family/caregiver leave. All three have been included in our most recent 2021 leaves of absence survey results. And again, Gina alluded to, it included over 10 million employees. So it's a very wide population and across a wide variety of industries. And industry is super important as you think about these from a benchmarking perspective, because while we saw in the data, for example, parental and bonding leave is now offered by almost 75% of all respondents, and that's a paid component. But when you boil it down to the specific plan provisions, for example, duration, concurrency, pay replacement, and so forth, that can differ tremendously by industry, depending on your attraction and retention needs, specific with the talent that you're looking to source. The other one is compliance, compliance, compliance. That has been a very topical trend among our client base, and really, especially any multi-state employer. But if you think about it with the work from home, you also more and more employers are having to adhere to that and becoming a multi-state employer. So there's two real forms of legislation that we're helping our clients with. One of which is the state paid family and medical leaves that encompasses disability, bonding time, as well as caregiving time, as well as the statutory paid sick leave laws, which there's about 40 plus across the country now, and they can go down to the local level or the municipal level. So specifically when you're thinking about it, these two concepts overlap and intertwine to a certain extent. If you think about the state paid family laws, for example, we have a lot of employers that, especially if you're in your multi-state, they're looking at these in terms of how can we reduce the administrative complexity, adhere from a compliance standpoint, be cognizant of any cost pressures and workforce management initiatives, as well as ensure that we have the best employee experience, because all of these combined together are increasing the rate of absenteeism, and more employees are going through this process. So it's ever more important to have that employee experience really buttoned up. But from an integration standpoint, a lot of multi-state employers are looking at these plans, for example, doing feasibility studies, analyzing in terms of the data, what makes sense? Does it make sense to do a private plan where applicable? If so, should it be self-funded or should it be fully insured? Or should we go through the state? And at the same time, as complex and challenging as this can be for a multi-state employer, if integrated appropriately and looking at the right concurrency and contribution strategies, this actually allows them to either implement or enhance an overarching family-friendly leave strategy at a potentially subsidized rate from a cost perspective. The third theme, and again, kind of intertwines with the prior two, is just the whole rebalancing effort. I think COVID and some other trends really brought to light some of the inefficiencies within some of the historic time away from work programs, whether that be bereavement leave, paid volunteer leave, PTO, vacation, personal, even the notion of unlimited paid time off or unlimited vacation is starting to become a little bit more topical now. So realistically, when we want an employer to view these, as Gina mentioned before, This is coming down into the middle market space. And we actually recently did a project with a group that was about 5,000 lives, and it was a holistic rebalance of their total time away from work programs. And it encompasses PTO, vacation, bereavement, volunteer, and basically looking at all the programs because they all overlap and intertwine with each other, and ensuring that if you're offering more leave time in one situation, does it make sense to adjust and potentially pare back to offset some of those additional costs where appropriate? And also, if you think about diversity, equity, and inclusion in your attraction and retention strategy, these benefits are very top of mind for a diverse workforce. And with that, flexibility is almost synonymous with a true inclusive benefit philosophy. So the more modernized and flexible you can make these programs, the wider net that's going to cast in terms of enhancing your ability to attract and retain from a benefit philosophy standpoint. So we look forward to discussing this in more detail, and we're setting up an hour-long webinar that's going to take place probably over the next couple of weeks. And it's going to have a CE credit tied to it. We'll go into a little bit more detail. We'll explore some of the trends that we saw within our survey and offer potential solutions as it relates to these three key trends. So I'll turn it back over to you, Marybeth.
That is fantastic. And I think employers are going to be so interested in hearing the results and what you saw in your survey, and really taking some of that and understanding how they can implement and use some of that in their strategy to harmonize their benefits. And you're so right. You brought up so many things that I hadn't thought about, work from home and then different states, and how that even spills over onto the healthcare side as well. Having people that are living in different states, having providers that are participating in those areas. So great information. And I'm so excited to chat with you in our 1-hour webinar, which is coming up. We will provide a registration link for everybody to join that session well in advance. And we look forward to continuing our conversation. Thanks so much.